about you guys.
She has a different voice and a different understanding.
Hi, my name is Audree Grubesic, and I'm here on the Offsite Construction Series on Offsite Dirt. For many of you that may not know us, Offsite Dirt is a community of individuals and businesses looking to expand their knowledge and education in offsite construction, along with high performance building science and techniques for a more sustainable building system. Martin Jansen is in North Carolina, actually Charlotte, North Carolina, offering a product called Quattro Insulation. Welcome. How are you, Martin?
I'm fine, thank you, Audrey, and I highly appreciate this opportunity to address your audience. Thank you so much.
I'm so happy you're here. We love knowing more about insulation. Insulation is such a big deal when you're building. I'd love to know a little bit more, or what makes Quattro stand out above the rest.
Exactly. I don't want to bore your audience with a commercial by saying that Quattro is the best product ever. But there are some situations where Quattro can be the best solution. And we all know that within the modular construction, there are some advantages and challenges compared to normal construction. Normal construction may not be the right word, but you know what I mean.
Traditional, right? We're traditional,
yeah, traditional,
right? So we're definitely on the plane.
That would be a better word indeed. And regardless whether you are in MSB and light steel framed containers, precast concrete or timber frame modules, we all have the same kind of focus, and that is that we try to create the highest return on investment. And that means that we need to optimize the production time, the production cost, and at the same time, we need to watch the weight of the modules that we create. So everybody is looking for light materials, lightweight, easy to install, easy to work with, and make sure that production is quickly. And so in addition to that, sometimes we have other problems like limited space. There could be weight restrictions, or you need to boost the R value of the assembly that you're making. So, and there's where Quattro comes in and where it can be your best solution. And this is Quattro. And Quattro is about 0.4 inches thick, and it has an aluminum layer on the outside, then air pockets, not to be confused with bubble wrap. With bubble wrap, you can just take your fingers and pop this is very thick material where you cannot do that. Then another layer of aluminum, and then the blue that you see is polyethylene, and these are tiny air pockets, and air is a fantastic insulator. Then we have another layer of aluminum, air pockets, and yet another layer of aluminum. And it is the multi-layers of aluminum, because most products have only aluminum on the inside, on the outsides of the product. Here we have multiple layers of aluminum, which create an additional insulation effect. Quattro is also very light. It has a superb strength. You cannot break it, but you can fold it in any situation you like. It is very cost effective. It is non-toxic. Even when it burns, there will be no toxic fumes. It will not melt. The polyethylene will not melt out of the product. So it is also rated as ASTM E84 fire resistant product class A.
Wow, that's amazing. So when we're looking at that one, just to recap, we have a product that's out there to basically take away from the products that are traditional built. This is a product that has to do with insulation, has more flexibility, it has aluminum and an air barrier inside of it, so it creates a better system. It's non-toxic, which we love, so it's a better sustainable product. What is the R value on that, Martin?
Yeah,
and what is R value? Let's actually talk about that first. Let's talk about what really is R value.
let me tell you about the R value. And before I do so, let me say one more thing that since this is so lightweight and has such a high insulation value, the Department of Defense uses this for all their what they call temporary structures like tents to keep the US military warm in the field, stuff like that. But yeah, R value is of Quattro is partly determined by the many air pockets that the product has. But building codes require R values in all different ways. And to create a good, what they call building envelope, and the building envelope needs to be of high quality to ensure comfort inside of the building. And when you talk about comfort, that's always a little bit tricky because it's a very personal thing. Even my wife and I, sometimes she is cold and I am warm. And so to create a comfortable building, the textile industry for many years has already been struggling on how to determine what comfort is. And a famous institute in England, the British Shirley Institute in the 1940s, they developed what they called the Shirley torque meter. And what the torque meter does is it tries to establish the requirements for keeping a person comfortable in a room at a temperature of 70 degrees Fahrenheit where there is no wind. So they put somebody in a conditioned room at 70 degrees Fahrenheit on a chair. He should not, move, and he should be comfortable. And then the required clothes to make that happen, they were measured, and they measured the thickness and thermal conductivity of the fabrics. And that's called the heat flow or heat flux of fabrics. Yeah. And in the mathematics or in their codes, it's called the K value. But we have building codes and we use R value. Well, where the K value is the heat flow, the R value is the resistance to heat flow. So the R value is the inverse of K value. So they indicate more or less the same thing, but from a different angle.
You explained that so well. So just to recap, R value is for insulation and is a way to measure how resistance of the insulation has to heat flow.
Exactly. So both R value and K value are determined by the thickness and the conductivity of the material. And each material, regardless how it is used, has an R value. And in the building industry, the industry uses a test method. It is test method ASTM C518. That's the standard test method for steady state thermal transmission. And if you use that test, then our Quattro has an R value of 1.63. But wait, there is more.
I love it. I love this information. It's so educational. This is great.
So in addition to what we call an intrinsic R value, you can also measure R value where the product uses its surroundings. So sometimes a product can use air gaps, for instance, Quattro, to boost its effectiveness. And the industry uses ASTM C1363. And that's the thermal performance of building materials and envelope assemblies. And that measures the R value when the product is incorporated in an assembly. So they don't just measure the R value of the product itself, but they measure a piece of the wall in which it is incorporated and see what the contribution is of the product. And the effect of Quattro becomes enormous when you use this air gap. For instance, with one layer of air gap on one side of the product, the R value goes up to R4.5, and if you have air gaps on two sides of the product, the R value can go up all the way to R7.0. So I have a slide here that's an architectural drawing, and that shows you there is the exterior sheeting made out of plywood. Then there's the traditional batt insulation, our thin Quattro, then an air gap, and then the interior gypsum. And you can see that our very thin Quattro with the air gap contributes about R value 4.5 almost to the total value of the wall of R 15.8. So that shows you that this material increases and is very depending on how you install it. Unfortunately, so far, many architects only rely on the R value that I explained in the very beginning, where you just measure the R value of the products. What we're trying to inform your audience about is that architects should be aware of ASTM C1363. It's a legal, very valid, also often used way to insulate and to get to your required R values in the building codes.
So I have a question for you, and I love that, we're trying to explain this process. We're trying to actually think outside the box and train people, and especially architects, to be using this product. And obviously there's a lot of benefits. Do you know, Martin, and I'm going to kind of throw this off the cuff, have you been able to use this product and get it approved by building departments?
Yes, it is. The product is used all over the world in commercial building as well as in residential building, and has been inspected by many building inspectors. As you may know, that the building codes are very local, even especially here in the United States. Building codes can vary a little from
Absolutely
state to state, from county to county, even from city to city.
Yes.
But we have extensively tested Quattro with American ASTM standard testing methods. We have a whole documentation of all the tests that we have done, and we have not seen any kind of problems in getting through inspection when you use Quattro.
Well, that's huge, because as we know, in offsite construction, and especially in manufacturing plants, right, they're building their assembly systems. So they have their wall system, like you were saying, timber frame, steel frame, and then we've got all the plumbing, all the lines that go through there. And then lastly, we obviously have the insulation that has to have that application. I do like that it is thin. I love that it's lightweight. It seems like it's applicable and applicable. Do you have, or can you tell us about one of your projects using this material? Do you have anything that you can kind of go into on what you guys have achieved? Obviously, you're working with the government and they see that this is a very applicable product and they believe in it. I just love to know if there's any other projects that you can kind of tell us about.
Sure. So one more thing about the building code when it comes to modular, at least here in North Carolina, we have a building code that allows you to have your structure inspected at the site where the modular is being built. So if you get a approval of your design, you don't need to, as long as you stick to that design, you don't need to have an inspection on every single unit.
That's correct. That's in the quality assurance manual. So every factory has to have an application or a book that actually talks about every specific material in there, and it is approved by the state in order for them to be able to build the product. So Martin, you are right on.
Yeah, and so once it has been approved on site, I should say the opposite, in the manufacturing location, it doesn't need to be re-inspected when it gets to the eventual building site. So that's a big advantage here. Yeah, we have a number of photos that I can share with you. The first one here is a house that was, the roof was insulated with Quattro and an air gap. And we had a very famous testing house, TUV, doing these tests for us, where the roof was installed with Quattro, which is only about ½ an inch thick, as you can see. The rest of the house, the walls, the exterior walls, were insulated by 6-inch EPS. And in this picture, the outdoor temperature was 23 degrees Fahrenheit, humidity 75 percent, sorry, and a very light wind. Inside temperature was 68 Fahrenheit. And this image clearly shows that our Quattro, which is only half an inch thick, clearly outperforms the 6-inch of styrofoam. So that's one construction site, but we have been using Quattro in many commercial and residential construction sites worldwide. For instance, there's over 715,000 square yards that was used in downtown St. Petersburg. Steve Fosset's global flyer was insulated with our Quattro, as other projects from NASA. Many companies, roofers, use Quattro as a roof underlayment, especially suitable for metal roofs. And I also have a few pictures here about how Quattro is used in modular construction, in wall constructions. Last but not least, you can use Quattro also as a sound insulator, especially on the hardwood floors. If you use Quattro, it will be much nicer if you're the downstairs neighbor when they have a party upstairs.
Wow, that's incredible. The amount of applications that you can use this for. I love that you can put this as an underlayment under steel roofs. Obviously, that would help with sound. I love that you can use it under floors. I love that NASA has approved this product, and additional other companies have also found the great benefits of using this. Martin, what's one of the things that you really love about this product?
What I really love about the product is that it is so easy to handle, and not that only that, but the people that I sell it to, they all tell me it's so easy because you can use just ordinary scissors. The easiest way to cut it is with a utility knife. You can staple it, you can nail through it, you can screw into it, and it's just, you know, unbreakable. So yeah, I like that about Quattro.
Well, we love learning about it, and we're so honored and so grateful, Martin, that you were able to join us. Tell us about your product, and know that you're in North Carolina. Charlotte, North Carolina is not very far from Savannah, Georgia, which makes it happy for me.
Great. And we have a big warehouse here with Quattros in stock. So sometimes, especially at these times, you hear about shipping problems, and especially for stuff that comes from outside of the United States. But we have a lot of stock here in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh, love that. Well, here is another product to help our offsite solutions, our sustainable building systems. And we are certainly happy to hear about all these amazing benefits. Thank you, Martin, for being here on our Offsite Construction Series.
I enjoyed it. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Audrey.
Thank you. Quattro insulation. Who would have thought a 1/2 inch thick piece of insulation could make such an impact? Make sure you listen to the video. Check us out. Check out the video information along with the story and the pictures, and make sure to connect with Martin. His information will be in our show notes. Thank you again for being here on the Offsite Construction Series.